Getting old now. They ain't gonna hit. I'm gonna tag some people on today. Like to say shalom to all my Israelite brothers and sisters, those that are near, those that are far off. And first thing I want to do is I want to give praises to the Most High Heavenly Father, His glorious Son, Ruach HaKodesh. I want to thank Him first and foremost for the brothers and the sisters that He give us to walk our lives out with. You know what I do if I want for some of these brothers. Just got off the horn with two of our young kings, two of the young lions, and told them I was about to go in on the video. Now, we're doing part 3. This is part 3. Part 3 video series on the doctrine of Hamashiach, Yahshua Hamashiach, or who the world knows as Jesus the Christ. This is his doctrine. His doctrine he left in the hands of 12 hand-picked men. 12 hand-picked men. And so, the thing we try to get our brothers and sisters to understand is this, okay, because see, we passed the point. We've been way past the point of worrying how people gonna receive something or whether or not they gonna embrace you or reject. We way past that point. We way past that. We way past that. We're reading out of the books. John 3:34 said, "He who God hath sent speaketh the words of God." He told Jeremiah, whose name mine is, "Do not be afraid of nobody's face. Though they may fight against you, they will not prevail. For I am with thee, saith the Lord. Only be careful and courageous to speak all that I tell you. In this day, gird up your loins, and I will make you as an iron pillar and a brazen wall and a rod for the backs of the kings and the princes of Israel." This is what he told Jeremiah. So Jeremiah couldn't be afraid of people's faces. When we start opening up this word, and the new things start being released that you never heard of, that you never knew existed, concerning the eyewitness of the 12 hand-picked apostles. You can tuck your tail and run if you want to, but that's on you. See, we're going to speak the word of the Most High, and we're going to let his word be true, and all men be liars. Because, see, here's one of the problems that we're having, and we still going to deal with this problem. Of course, I got a call from one of our young lions this morning. He said, "Elder, my phone is back to ringing again. My phone is back to ringing." I said, "Well, mine don't stop. It's always somebody that disagrees. It's always somebody that's pricked by something that you say. It's always somebody that's so comfortable in their rebellion or in their state of being unlearned that they don't want to be challenged to come out. It's always going to be somebody like that. So you either stay where you at, or when the Most High move, you get ready to move." Because see, when we start talking about the doctrine of Christ, the doctrine of Hamashiach, you're talking about the doctrine that have been hidden from the people of the Most High so that they can remain in the transgression that Hamashiach came to abolish or to do away with, namely that of sacrificing animals. And so we asked the question to one of the young lions the other day, who is captivated. He is captivated by the opposite. And that's right, I said the opposite of Hamashiach. He is captivated by the letters of Paul. Now, y'all ain't got to agree with it. I ain't looking for nobody to agree or nobody to be on my side, agree or disagree. But when we open up these books, you're going to get to see exactly what I'm talking about. And we're not worried about what nobody think. We're not worried about what nobody got to say. I've been called everything under the sun. False prophet, false teacher, this, that, you name it. And was called worse than that in the street. But we passed that point because we start looking at the doctrine of Hamashiach. You must understand that Hamashiach declared that when the Spirit have come, you shall receive power to become a witness of me First in Jerusalem, then in Judea, and then into the uttermost parts of the earth, meaning that the witnessing 12 would be the ones that would be appointed to bring the witness of Hamashiach even into the gentilic world, where everybody had been taught, and so to say, like Paul, because of Paul, all the Gentiles know. That's a bunch of foolishness. It's because of the 12, according to the scripture. So, you know, it's some good in the best of us, and it's some bad in the worst of us. And you can get many good things out of the letters of Paul, but Paul ain't never going on the same plateau as Yahshua HaMashiach. It ain't never gonna happen, not on my watch. And we're going to show you, anytime brothers and sisters have a misunderstanding of the letters of Paul, this is what they do. And then they make Paul an opposite. They turn Paul into a devil. So, we're talking about the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach. So we asked certain questions to people before we started up the series of videos and said, well, who knows what the doctrine of Hamashiach was? And then everybody gave their answers. And some people said the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach, he came to bring love into the world. The doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach, he came to die for the sins of the world. The doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach was this and it was that. But they never really understood what the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach really was. And so we're explaining through these videos what the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach was all about. It was going to be according to the things that the prophets had foretold that he would do. He shall come and he shall do away with the daily sacrifice. He shall come and he shall remove the shedding of innocent blood of the creatures of the world. He shall come and he shall That what they say, he would sacrifice his life. He would sacrifice his life in the sense that he knew that they would murder him because he would appear to be going against the law of the Moses, and they had not the comprehension that one that was greater than Moses was here. And so he came to do what the prophets prophesied that he would do, and he was murdered for it. Now, that's one trait of thought. You got many people out there that don't believe that he was murdered. You got many people out there that don't believe that he even lived, that he even walked the earth. But what they believe don't have no bearing on me. I'm going to believe what I'm going to believe irregardless. The doctrine's still going to meet up at the same place. So you are looking at what his doctrine was. The veil of the temple in Matthew 27 and 50, when he died and gave up the ghost, it says the veil of the temple was rent from the top to the bottom. That means that the temple, the veil, would be ripped from heaven down. The veil represents what was behind the veil was the Holy of Holies. That is where the priest, Zechariah, would go to hear from the Most High as he declared John the Baptist to be the forerunner on behalf of the Messiah. That is where the priest would go and hear from the Most High behind the veil. It was a wall of partition that separated the men from the Most High. So the priest had stood in the middle. He said when he gave up the ghost, the veil of the temple, it was rent from top to the bottom. There's no wall of partition no more. That means that the office of the Levitical priesthood, where sacrifices were concerned, ceased to exist. So no man was going to sin and then had to bring 2 turtle doves and a bullock or a blemish-free ram, or no man was ever going to have to do that again. And what we say is that the only reason why people ate portions of the 2 turtle doves, the only reason why people ate the barbecued ram, the barbecued lamb, the barbecued cow, the bullock. The only reason why people ate the meat that came off the altar is because of the sacrifice. And if Yahshua HaMashiach doctrine was that he would come and do away with the daily sacrifices, it means that no longer would people be eating meat because there would not be no animals sacrificed. Those animals that still would be sacrificed to the idol gods of this world. And the children of Israel would be partakers of those idol gods, of those sacrifices as they were sacrificed. Every time you go into Walmart, you have partook of a sacrifice to an idol god of this world, because there is no priest that slaughtered that steak that you were eating on behalf of your sin. Didn't nobody slaughter that chicken on behalf of your sin. That blood wasn't spilled to atone for your sin in the way that it was done back then. Talking about the doctrine of Christ, something that we had never seen, where Hamashiach forbid us to eat the innocent animals and the innocent creatures again once he had got up and abolished that thing. Talking about the doctrine of Christ that you have never heard contained in the pages of the 66 books. You're talking about the doctrine of Christ that was given, the doctrine of Hamashiach that was given to a handpicked 12 disciples who you cannot find their witness nowhere in the book. But you can find the witness of another person that was not chosen by anybody. And you can find the book full of his letters and full of his writings, yet not one eyewitness account of anything that Yahshua HaMashiach done. Now, who wants to go and try to stand up? And who wants to go and try to defend that? What you gonna use to come back and try to defend that? What you gonna use? I know that many of you have fallen in love with Paul because you have made him a god in your life. And you have done something that was foolish. You're worshiping an idol. Because rather than you hear the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach, you listen to the voice of one that declares you can eat all things. Just say your grace and say your prayer. Well, who are you going to say your prayer to when you're in rebellion against the holy God and the righteousness of Yahshua HaMashiach? Who are you going to pray to? You'd rather do that, talk about what the letters of some man said, than to hear the doctrine of Hamashiach. This is the foundation, because we're going to open up the books, and those that don't believe, that's on you. Because if you know, in order for you not to believe, you're going to have to reject the word. So, once again, we will be coming out of the Nazarene Acts of the Apostles. This is an eyewitness account of the 12 apostles that you won't find contained within the framework of the 66 books. We also will be coming out of the Clementine homilies. We also will be using the gospel of the Holy 12. Ask yourself this question: why would anybody want to take away the eyewitness account of the 12 handpicked apostles and then replace their accounts with self-proclaimed apostles that you can find in Revelation chapter 2, verse 2, and self-proclaimed apostles that were not appointed by Yahshua HaMashiach nor appointed by his disciples, even though it's prophesied in the book of Psalms that the choosing of apostles had to come through the original 12 that were chosen by the Messiah. These things are Bible. These things are scripture. Sometimes it get up under my fingernails that so many people want to come to try to defend somebody, but they don't have anything in the scripture to defend them with. And then start talking about, well, Elder's on Paul again, Elder's on Paul again. No, Elder ain't on Paul. Elder's on the would-be knuckleheads that misunderstand that this is a man that take his letters as though they're something great. Try to use them to supersede. See, you're up under a doctrine of a man. You see? Here, Yahshua HaMashiach is telling you, don't eat no creatures. If you eat any creatures, if you hurt an animal, you're guilty of killing your own brother or something like that. You're guilty of killing your own brother or something like that. And then you'll let Paul say, well, when you go to the meat market, you eat anything that's put in front of you and don't even ask no questions for your conscience sake. Yeah, because your conscience will convict you according to the things that you know. What kind of person would tell you something like that when you know what the Messiah is telling you not to do? Oh, just go and eat anything and don't even think about what you're eating. Many of you don't even take a listen at what it is that's contained in this doctrine that you are listening to as you try to elevate one to God's status. God said, tell you, it's not good for man to be alone. I'll make for him a help me. And one of the first commandments that he gave to the two of them is be fruitful and multiply. But you'll listen to one come along and say, I wish all men was like me. What do you mean? I wish all men was like me and had the desire and the ability to resist women. But since you can't control your hormones, or since you can't contain, go on and get you a woman. Go on and marry you a woman. Since you too weak to resist her, I wish all men was like me. What kind of man will go and tell another man he wish all men was like him because he didn't have no love for a woman? And you would go against the first commandment, that to be fruitful and multiply. How is it? What kind of person could go through life not having no desire for a woman when God made the woman for that man, for his overall purpose? You tell me. Come on, somebody. Because we'll pull out things dealing with this individual that you ain't never looked at. And look at the people that built their doctrine on what Paul said. I would that all men was like me, that you can control your hormones and you don't need to have no woman while you do this work. Well, look at the doctrine. Look at the people that's built off of their doctrine. Roman Catholicism, as the priests live like Paul without a woman. Look at the perversion that comes from being disobedient to the Most High. Look at the perversion that comes out of, and you're not going to make his letters say anything other than what they're saying. It's just because you don't understand what's contained in them and what they designed to do. That's on you. But there are people that'll run circles around some of you knuckleheads with the information that you think you know. There are people that know 10 times more than you, than seen it all, backwards and frontwards. You make it say something else. I would that all men was like me. They ain't got to have sex with women. They can just dedicate their life to the work. Well, if the Most High meant for a man to dedicate his life to the work without no women, how would the world go on? I wish all men, not some men, not a few men. I wish I could get 10 men that'll just dedicate their life to the work. No, I get 50 men that'll no, I wish all men. I wish every man that God made was like me, didn't have no love for a woman. Sit down, shut up. I don't permit no woman to do nothing. You go sit down. You sit down somewhere like a dog in the corner. Don't tell me nothing about this joker right here when he's opposing the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach, and you too foolish or too blinded to be able to receive it. I don't care what kind of school you went to, what kind of theological background you, I don't care how many people you got in your congregation or what you think you know about Paul. No matter who you are, whether you're in the Hebrew community, whether you're somebody that I know, somebody that I walk with, somebody that I commune with, if you think there's something wrong with this message, then you bring your butt right on over here, right now, and hit the button. That's how we do that. Come on. Because I'm tired of you so-called scholars and you so-called brothers with your information that you think you know something that you don't, while we're trying to express the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach. Somebody want to live by the doctrine of Paul, and you don't understand. It's two doctrines out here. I don't need no Paul when I got Messiah. Tell me that. But I quote from Paul a lot, because Paul says some good things. But it ain't Paul. It's what men do to Paul. So, the Messiah's doctrine, we're going to take a further look at that. And I want you to look at this doctrine as we read through these things with the letters that replace the eyewitness account of the 12 hand-picked, chosen apostles. Well, no. I got my young lions out there. They love to go back and forth. They love to go back and forth, but they won't dare come on this video. You know why? They scared. They're afraid, and they should be. And they shouldn't be afraid of me, but they should be afraid of what the Most High gonna do for their rebellion. Okay, so we're gonna start here. We're gonna start in the book of Revelations. Just to establish a couple of points. Start in the book of Revelations just to establish a couple of points. Yeah, it was Paul that said, he that think he knows something don't know nothing that he should know. For all these brothers, why can't they just determine what they're going to tear out the Bible? Why can't they apply that scripture to themselves? You think you know something, but you don't know nothing that you should know. Why you can't apply that to yourself? Revelations chapter 22, verse 19. And if any man, it says, verse 18, I testify unto every man that heareth the words of this prophecy of this book. If any man shall add things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. If any man shall take away from the words of this book, this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. Now, this is the evidence for brothers and sisters that want to remain in grade school and want to remain unskillful in the word of righteousness. All you have to do is lay claim that all you need and all that is to be known, it can be found within the framework of the 66 books that we know as the King James Version Bible. If you want your growth stagnated and you want to be in just in grade school, that's the mindset that you keep. And I assure you that you'll have a confused mind, because there are places that the tail has been chopped off, places that the head been chopped off, and places that certain things have literally been removed. There are things that have been tampered with. There are things that have been inserted. There are things that have been removed. And if you don't have to believe it, because if you don't believe it, you ain't rejecting me. You're rejecting what the word says. It's telling you, any man that takes away from the books of these prophecies, the Most High gonna take away from his name out of the book of life. Why would he say that? Because he knew that men were gonna take away from the books of this prophecy. Okay, let me give you an example. Everybody on this line would agree that Hamashiach had 12 disciples. Why is it that the only ones that you hear from is Matthew, Mark, and John? What happened to Bartholomew? What happened to Thomas? What happened to Matthias? What happened to Andrew? What happened to their accounts? They were eyewitnesses. They were chosen for that reason. What happened to their accounts? I know. They were taken away. And if any man add unto the books of this prophecy, I will add unto him the plagues that are written therein. How do we know when something has been added? You know it's being added when you can't find it in the account of the 12 apostles. And it'll be hard for you to tell when things been added if they take the account of the 12 apostles away. So that's where we at. So there was going to be a time that men would take, and then men would add, and men would take away. Let's go to read another one. We'll put a precept with this. Let's go to Daniel. Let's go to Daniel, because we got some brothers out there that's where they stuck, and we're going to show them that, you know what, and these things ain't to prove nobody wrong. These videos are always for edification. In every message, it says in every message, there's reproof, mild correction, rebuke, strong correction, and edification, and just edify. And so those three things are going to be in every single message. There's going to be some brothers that need to be rebuked. You need to be snatched in your collar and smacked in your mouth. And then there are some brothers that just need to be embraced, you know what I mean? Or just, do better next time. And then there are going to be some people that you just have to just downright love on and keep them lifted up. That's every message. So we got to get in where we fit in. Now, that said knowledge, and that said things was going to be added and things was going to be taken away from the scripture. Verse 4. Let's read verse 3 of the 12th chapter. Now, we're going to read this whole passage right here, starting at verse 1 of the 12th chapter. At that time, Michael shall stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was seen. There was a nation, there was a nation, even to that time, even to that same time. At that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. Some to everlasting life, some to everlasting shame, some to everlasting contempt. They that be wise shall shine as brightness of the firmament. They that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So there's also going to be a time coming that those things that were added and those things that were taken away, they were orchestrated being hid according to the prophecies of the Most High. In Daniel's days, Daniel got the prophecy to seal up the books of his prophecy. But now it's the same thing. It's a messianic prophecy. That's what you call a messianic prophecy. Because when things being sealed mean that they have been hidden until the time of the end, shows you it's the workings of the Most High, because Daniel ain't here to open back the book up. He's not here to unseal the book. So the Most High declares that in the end, I will open up the books and I will increase the knowledge that I told Daniel to seal up. I will increase the knowledge, because as those things were sealed up, they were sealed up because somebody added something that wasn't there, and then somebody took away something that was there. He said that is what caused all of the stuff to be sealed up. But in the time of the end, I am going to open up the books. Those things that have been added will be rejected as I reveal new knowledge that shall be increased. Those things that were taken away will be put back as I restore my word to its original people. And we do this for foundation's sake. When people see us using books that they never heard of, or books that they don't know about. That's why we did the video at first dealing with all of the different books that were spoken of by the prophets, yet not contained within the framework of the 66 books. Shalom, Fitting. Glad you're on here. Because what we're doing is we're looking at the doctrine of Christ. And that was a good conversation that we had last week. But you know my stance. Paul's all right with me. As long as you don't try to elevate him to God status. As long as you keep him in the same boat that I'm in the same boat that every other man is in. He's a raggedy man just like you. Double-minded man just like you. Bad attituded man just like you. Man prone to making mistakes. Murderer in the past. Who knows what else? Being a thorn in the flesh. Who knows what else? He is no different than any other man. You don't try to put him in God status. Anybody try to put him in God status, you got a problem. I'm going to show you how much God he was. I'm going to show you how much God he really was. So, but we're going to raise Hamashiach up. So we're looking at the doctrine of Hamashiach. And we're going to be reading these out of the Acts, out of the Gospel of the Holy 12. Because you can't find the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach contained in the scripture. In the 66 books. You can't find his doctrine in the 66 books. His doctrine is blocked out. You see? He said flesh and blood. Flesh and blood can't remove nobody's sin. He said flesh and blood can't remove nobody's sin. But your brother, your boy, he said, you know, if you don't shed no blood, your sin ain't got no place to go into remission. So whose words you gonna take? Whose words you gonna take? You gonna take Yahshua HaMashiach's word? Or you gonna take your boy's word? Come on, somebody. Come on, because I want you to really see it for what it is. So you know how to keep him in his place. Whose words you gonna take? If Yahshua HaMashiach come and declare there is no shedding of blood can remove sin from man. Whether it is a man, whether it's a human, whether it's an animal, whether it's a bird, no innocent blood can remove no man's sin. That's part of Hamashiach's doctrine. Your boys say without the shedding of blood ain't no remission of sin. Who's right? I'll wait. Who's right? Cause I know we got some scholars on there that be looking. Oh yeah, we got it. We got him tripping now. Let me ask you that question. Who's right? I can pull out both. I can pull out the scripture that come from the words of Yahshua HaMashiach. Let me pull it. Let me pull it. Let me pull it. Let me pull it out. Let's pull it out, baby boy. Let's pull it out. Let's pull it out. Let's pull it out. Cause see, you know, you gonna serve one and you're gonna hate the other one. You're gonna love one and you're gonna despise the other one. See, you don't understand. Many of you brothers don't understand. There's two doctrines out here in the world. There is enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of Satan. There, from the time that they left the garden, there's always been somebody fighting at the same time with the one that was doing the Father's will. Pharaoh fought with Moses. Samson fought with Delilah. David fought with Goliath. There was always somebody that was opposing the will. There always somebody that was doing that. Isaiah, the prophets of Baal, Ezekiel, the kings of 50. It always was somebody that was fighting. Now what you gonna say? That Yahshua ain't got, who's moving in opposition to the Lord of glory? That's what we're gonna see. Let's look at the doctrine. Let's see. Let's go. Let's see. I don't know how I got there. Yep, let's go here. That's where I need to be, right here. Let's go see. Let's go see. Let's go see. Now we're gonna parallel these scriptures. We're gonna parallel these scriptures right here. Without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. Okay. All right. Let's see. Yep. Now, we're going to look at some things as we get ready to go into this video. Now, listen, let's check this here out. Now, it's either the Messiah's a liar, the prophets are lying, or the Apostle Paul is lying. Okay? Let's see. Now, Hebrews 9:22 is riding off the back of the prophets in Leviticus 17 and 11, saying, without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at here. Now let's look. Because Leviticus say it's without the shedding of blood, ain't no remission for sin. Listen to what the Messiah say. Yahshua was teaching his disciples in the outer court of the temple. One of them said unto him, Master, it is said by the priest that without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. Can then the blood offering of the law take away sin? And Yahshua answered, no blood offering of a beast or a bird or a man can take away sin. For how can the conscience be purged from sin by the shedding of innocent blood? No, it will not take away sin. It will increase the condemnation. The priests indeed receive such offerings as a reconciliation of the worshipers for the trespasses against the law of Moses. But for sins against the law of God, there can be no remission except by repentance and amendment. Here we go. Is it not written in the prophets, put your blood sacrifices to your burnt offerings and away with them, and cease from the eating of flesh? For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them when I brought them out of Egypt concerning these things. But this thing I commanded thee, dealing with love one another. Okay, so who's wrong? Is Paul wrong? Is the prophets of Leviticus wrong? And Exodus wrong? Or is Messiah wrong? You see? Now, let's show you what's really happening. Because it's either a contradiction or we got a problem. Now, this becomes the key evidence. Because while Paul quote the prophets, you must understand that the wisdom that was given to him was the wisdom that was according to Pharisaical law. He was able to quote the prophets because he was well versed and trained and studied in the law. However, because he was not a witness and did not walk with Yahshua HaMashiach and did not hear from Yahshua HaMashiach, he did not have a comprehension of what his doctrine was. Therefore, he and the prophet seem as though they go against the Messiah, because the Messiah came to put away what the prophets had once caused the people to do. As we say again, all 12 of the apostles knew this. That scripture is contained in the gospel of the Holy 12. And what the gospel of the Holy 12 is, the gospel of the Holy 12 is the eyewitness accounts of the 12 hand-picked, chosen apostles that were removed from the books and replaced with self-proclaimed writings of them that said they were apostles. Now, when the Messiah quoted, he quoted the prophets. He said, is it not written by the prophets to put away your blood sacrifice and stop the eating of flesh and the drinking of the blood? You know why they didn't want to hear that? They didn't want to hear that the same reason why the preacher that's preaching in the pulpit right now don't want to hear it. Because he don't want to stop eating the flesh and drinking the blood, because he is the child of his foreparents that wandered in the wilderness in rebellion. He don't want to accept the doctrine of Christ, because the doctrine of Christ, he'll say that the doctrine of Christ abolished the sacrificial law. He abolished the sacrificial law. Well, if Christ abolished the sacrificial law, then how is it that you still eating a dead animal? And if you eating a dead animal, it got sacrificed to the idol gods of this world. That's why they don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear the doctrine of HaMashiach for real. So let me show you how it got like that. We're going to the Nazarene Acts of the Apostles, or the recognition of Clement. Okay. This is called the allowance of Zabah for a time. Zabah is the Hebrew word for sacrifice. Let's read. It says, this is chapter 34. It says, when meantime Moshe, that faithful and wise steward, perceived that the vice of sacrifices to idols had been deeply ingrained into the people from their association with the Mizraim, or the Egyptians, and that the root of this evil could not be extracted from them. He allowed them sacrifices, but permitted it to be done only to Yahweh, or the Most High, or Yahuwah, that by any means he might cut off half of the deeply ingrained evil, leaving the other half to be corrected by another, and at a future time by him, namely concerning whom he said himself, a Navi, or a prophet, of Yahweh, a prophet of the Most High, your Elohim will raise unto you, whom you will hear, even as myself, according to all that he will say to you. Whosoever will not hear that prophet, his spirit will be cut off from his people. Now we know, here's what Moses is saying. This is where it looked like it's conflict, and this is how the people came to sacrifice animals from the first place. He said, when it was time for me to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt, he said, because they had been in Egypt and become a part of the customs of worshiping and sacrificing to false idol gods, because they didn't know the Most High until he sent Moses in there. He said, but because that thing was so deeply ingrained in their mind, Moses couldn't get it out of them. So the only way that Moses could deal with it is he had to deal with that the same way that he dealt with them when they said, is it lawful for us to divorce our wife for anything? He said, no, have you not understood that the Most High's law declared this not to be so? But I'm going to change it because of the hardness of your heart, just so that we can live together. And he did the same thing. He said, it is not the Most High's will for you to be sacrificing no animals. That's idolatry. He said, but because it's been flesh eating and drinking of blood is so far ingrained in your mentality and your understanding, I can't remove it. So I'm going to permit you to make sacrifices. Only you won't sacrifice these animals to the idolatrous gods of Egypt. You will sacrifice these animals to Yahweh. He said that half of the evil may be cut out. That means that the half of the evil that would be cut out was the false god that they would be sacrificing to. He said, and I will leave for a time in the future another to deal with purging you from the other half. Henceforth you have the prophecy of the Messiah that's to come, and then purge us from the other half of the evil that we were doing, where sacrifices were concerned. So you see, it never was the will of the Most High for us to be killing no animals and all of that stuff. But just like we are stiff-necked, hard-headed people and a rebellious people, things have to be changed just so that you can live with a person. And then we think that the Most High done it. Now we're going to start going into, we're going to start looking at the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach. We know that the doctrine was the putting away of the sacrifices. And you know what? Anybody watching these videos, you think you're serving the Lord? Anybody doing all that? Listen, you know what? You still eating dead things. You still running around here scavenging. Don't you understand? You're still in the same transgression that your forefathers was in. When the book says, he shall save his people from their sin, you must know what the people's sin was. The people's sin was transgression against creation. He said, I will save them from transgression against the animals and against the creatures of the world. That's the sin I'm going to save them for. And I'm going to save the animals in the process. So I abolish the need for a sacrifice, for animal sacrifice. If he abolished the need for animal sacrifice, and you still running around here eating every piece of meat you can get your hands on, you ain't been saved from your sin. Let's go. Let me show you why it was so dear to Hamashiach. Let me show you why. I'm going to keep getting here. Yep. Let's start reading. Let's go to Gospel of the Holy 12, Lecture 6. All praises for my studying partner, my young king behind the scenes. All praises to the Most High. Now, here's what we're going to do. This dealing with John the Baptist, okay? It said, let's see. This here in chapter 6 dealing with John the Baptist prophesied to come in. And I was talking to my young king and I said, man, I was blown away. I said, because somebody really, this world system is wicked. And they need for you to be a consumer of dead things in order to maintain their power in this world. You see, they eateth the flesh and drinketh the blood of humans. They need for you to eat the flesh and drink the blood of animals in order for them to maintain power. That's why the grocery store and the food industry is amongst the biggest industry in the world. Can you imagine how many animals have to be slaughtered and murdered and killed in order to fill up every grocery store in every neighborhood, in every city, in every state, in every country on the planet? Can you imagine how many animals have to be slaughtered on a regular basis in order to do that? And that takes a great level of wickedness and cruelty. But they need for you to be a consumer of it. Because as long as you're consuming of it, you remain in the transgression that the Messiah came to abolish. When he did away with the animal sacrifices, all of these animals are being sacrificed to the idol gods of this world. And the children of Israel have become partakers of dead things. Can you imagine what it would be like if we ever came back? If we ever understood the doctrine of a Mashiach, we would shut this world down. Our power and our everything is attached to it. Our mentality will come back because we are no longer contaminated by dead things that affect our body in ways that we don't even know about. Yeah. While I listen to Paul, I want to keep eating more meat. Matter of fact, I can eat the meat even the prophets said wasn't no good. And some dude gonna go to the extreme and start asking me about a rat. I said a rat ain't even included into the equation because a rat is not classified as food. It is an animal, but it ain't no animal meant for you to be eaten. So it said John the Baptist. I was blown away because it said John the Baptist came eating locusts and wild honey. Let's get it. Let's get it. John the Baptist came eating locusts and wild honey.
According to Wikipedia, meat was locusts and wild honey. The World English Bible translates the passage as, "Now John himself wore clothing."
Now John wore clothes. This is Matthew 3rd chapter. Now John wore clothes of camel's hair and wore a leather belt around his waist. For food, he ate locusts with wild honey. That ain't what the eyewitness account of the 12 apostles say. That is not what it say. The eyewitness account of the 12 apostles said that he should not be a partaker of flesh or strong drink from his mother's womb, and he shall eat the fruit of the locust tree and wild honey. See what? One said he eat the fruit of the locust tree. We showed how yesterday we paralleled the scriptures about the little lad. It said that's all these people, send them away. Where they gonna eat? And they said we got a lag here in the King James Version. It said he has 2 fish and 5 loaves. And Yahshua held the fish up and then blessed the fish and then break it and they all eat. But ask yourself this question: why would the Messiah that come to do away with the killing of innocent animals, why would he take and bless and turn around and feed the people an animal, a fish, when he himself was a vegetarian? Why would he ask the Father to bless something that he came to stop men from doing? But that's what the King James Version said. But in the Gospel of the Holy 12, it says, when we found the lad, he had 2 clusters of grapes and 6 barley loaves. And Yahshua held up the 2 clusters of grapes and the 6 barley loaves, and they had fed 5,000 men, women, and children, and had 12 baskets left over. And the Gospel of the Holy 12 is far older than the 66 book containing King James Version Bible that have been produced for us. But some things have been put in there. Some things have been done in a way to keep you eating meat and flesh. You ain't got to take my word for it. Show it on. We just gonna keep on reading. Yep. That's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna keep right on reading. Yep. We're just gonna keep right on reading. Anybody got anything they want to say? They want to bring in? Yep. They got some questions y'all want to ask? Gospel of the Holy 12. The eyewitness account of the 12 apostles. That ain't what I want. We're going to show you why the Most High. Show you why the Most High. That's one. Let's go to Lections 24. That's 23. Lections 24. It says, as Yahshua passed through a certain village, he saw a crowd of idlers of the baser sort, and they were tormenting a cat, which they had found and shamefully treating it. And Yahshua commanded them to desist and begun to reason with them. But they would have none of his words, and he reviled them. Then he made a whip of knotted cords and drove them away, saying, this earth which my father and mother made for joy and gladness, ye have made into the lowest hell with your deeds of violence and cruelty. And they fled before his face. But one more vile than the rest returned and defied him. And Yahshua put forth his hand, and the young man's arm withered. And great fear came upon all. And one said, he is a sorcerer. And the next day, the mother of the young man came to Yahshua, praying that he would restore the withered arm. And Yahshua spake unto them of the law of love and the unity of all life in one family of God. And he also said, as you do in this life to your fellow creatures, so shall it be done to you in the life to come. And the young man believed and confessed his sins, and Yahshua stretched forth his hand, and his withered arm became whole even as the other. And the people glorified the Most High, who had given such power to a man. And when Yahshua departed thence, two blind men followed him, crying and saying, thou son of David, have mercy on us. And when he was come into the house, the blind men came in, and Yahshua said unto them, believe that I am able to do this? And they said unto him, yea, Lord. Then he touched their eyes, saying, according to your faith, be it so. And their eyes were opened. And Yahshua straightly charged them, saying, see that you tell no man. But they, when they were departed, spread abroad his fame in all the country. Now, the cat and the animals is what's directly attached to the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach, because he came to put away the blood sacrifice and the murdering of the innocent creatures. Let's go. We're going to Lections 28. And it came to pass one day, as Yahshua had finished his discourse in a place near Tiberias, where there are 7 wells, and a certain young man brought live rabbits and pigeons, that he might have to eat with his disciples. And Yahshua looked on the young man with love and said unto him, thou hast a good heart, and God shall give thee light. But knowest thou not that God in the beginning gave to man the fruits of the earth for food, and did not make him lower than the ox or the horse or the sheep, that he should kill and eat the flesh and the blood of his fellow creatures? Ye believe that Moses indeed commanded such creatures to be slain and offered in sacrifice and eaten, and so do you in the temple. But behold, one that is greater than Moses is here, and he cometh to put away bloody sacrifices of the law and the feast on them, and to restore to you the pure oblation and unbloody sacrifice, as in the beginning, even the grains and the fruits of the earth. Of that which ye offer unto God in purity shall ye eat. But of that kind which ye offer not in purity, you shall not eat. For the hour cometh when your sacrifices and your feast of blood shall cease, and ye shall worship the Most High with a holy worship and pure oblation. Let these creatures therefore go free, that they may rejoice in the Most High, and bring no guilt to man. And the young man set them free, and Yahshua brake their cages and their bonds. But lo, they feared lest they should again be taken captive, and they went not away from him. But he spake unto them and dismissed them, and they obeyed his word and departed in gladness. You see that? You see that? This is the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach, the lover of all creation. That's what that is. You can eat all things. Don't even think about what you eat. This is the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach. It's directly attached to the Holy 12. It's directly attached to the creation and the putting away of animal sacrifices and the eating of flesh and dead things. And though many brothers and sisters can say that the Messiah sacrificed his life and spilt his blood on behalf of their life, and then they don't have to sacrifice animals no more. Well, if he did all of that for you, why are you still eating the animals that he came to destroy the sacrifices for? Come on. You toss 1,000 scriptures and then go order a Big Mac. You can toss 1,000 scriptures and then go throw a chicken in some boiling hot grease and then chew him up. Come on, somebody. Let's go. Lection 34. Y'all don't see? We don't know. We ain't never knew what the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach was. But you don't learn it now. When Yahshua knew how the Pharisees had murmured and complained because he had made and baptized more disciples than John, he left Judea and departed unto Galilee. And Yahshua came to a certain tree and abode beneath it many days. And there came Mary Magdalene and other women and ministered unto him of their substance, and he taught them daily. And they came unto him, and the birds gathered round about him and welcomed him with their song. And other living creatures came unto his feet, and he fed them, and they ate out of his hand. And when he had departed, he blessed the women and who showed love unto him. And turning to the fig tree, he blessed it also, saying, Thou hast given me shelter and shade from the burning heat, with how thou hast given me food also. Blessed be thou, increase and be fruitful, and let all who come unto thee find rest and shade and food, and let the birds of the air rejoice in thy branches. And behold, the tree grew and flourished exceedingly, and its branches took root downward and sent shoots upward, and spread mightily, so that no tree was like it for its size and its beauty, and the abundance of goodness of its fruit. And Yahshua entered into a certain town, and he saw a young cat which had none to care for her, and she was hungry, and she cried, and he took her up, and he put her inside his garment, and she lay in his bosom. And when he came into the village, he set food and drink before the cat, and she ate and she drank, and she showed thanks unto him. And he gave her unto one of his disciples, who was a widow, whose name was Lorenza, and she took care of the cat. And some of the people said, this man careth for all creatures. Are they his brothers and sisters? Are that he should love them? And he said unto them, verily, these are your fellow creatures of the great household of the Most High. Yes, they are your brethren and your sisterin, having the same breath of life of the eternal in them. And whosoever careth for one of the least of these, and giveth it to eat and to drink in its need, the same do it unto me. And whosoever willingly suffer of one of these to be in want, and defended it not, shall when evilly entreated, suffer the evil as to be done unto me. For as ye have done in this life, so shall it be done to you in the life to come. It'll make you think twice about how you treat the animals, because your salvation is directly attached to creation. Because here's the doctrine of Yahshua, the HaMashiach, is that he came to put away the bloody sacrifices and the offering of innocent animals. And you don't even understand that when you're going down a grocery store line, that you're going against the grain, that you're stepping on everything that they murdered him for, everything that he came to save you from. You're stepping on it. Every time you go into the grocery store and reach up there and grab a T-bone steak, you become the same murderer of the cat that he loves so dearly. You ain't got to take my word for it. You ain't got to take my word for it. Yep. You ain't got to take my word for it. Let's go. We're looking at the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach. And this is why he came to put away the bloody sacrifices. He didn't just say, I'm coming to put away the bloody sacrifices for nothing. There was a purpose behind it. Now Herod the Tetrarch, being reproved by John the Baptist for Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, and for all the evils which he had done, added yet this above all, that he shut up John in prison. And Yahshua began to preach and to say, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And as he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon, called Peter, and Andrew, brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said unto them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway forsook their nets and followed him. And going on from this, he saw other two brothers, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee, their father, mending their nets. And he called them, and they immediately left their nets and the ship and their father, and followed him. And Yahshua went about to Galilee, teaching and preaching in the synagogue, teaching and preaching in their synagogue, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and the healing of all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. At that fame of his miracles went throughout Syria. And they brought unto him many sick people that were taken with diverse diseases, torments, on those that were lunatic, and on those that had palsy, and he healed them. And there followed him great multitudes of the people from Galilee. And it says, and from Jerusalem and Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. And Yahshua was going with some of his disciples. He met a certain man who trained a dog to hunt other creatures. And he said to the man, "Why doest thou thus?" And the man said, "By this I live, and what profit is there to any of these creatures? These creatures are weak, but the dogs, they are strong." And Yahshua said, "Thou lackest wisdom and love. Lo, every creature of God that God hath made hath its end and its purpose. And who can say what good there is in it, or what profit to thyself of mankind? And for thy living, behold the fields yielding their increase, and the fruit-bearing trees, and the herbs. What needest thou more than these, which honest work of thy hands will not give unto thee? Woe to the strong who misuse their strength. Woe to the hunters, for they shall be hunted." And the man marveled and left off training the dogs to hunt, and then he taught them to save the life rather than to destroy. And he learned of the doctrine of Yahshua and became his disciples. See that? See that? We can go on and on and on, because this is what we're talking about, the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach. Let's do a couple more. Let's do a couple more. I just want to bring y'all to a fully understanding what the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach was and what it was dealing with. It is dealing with the putting away of the bloody sacrifice of animals. No, animals are no longer slaughtered. They are no longer slaughtered to atone for man's sin. And the only reason why man ate the flesh of animals is because it was sacrificed to idol gods. And the only reason why anybody is still eating the flesh of animals is because they are being sacrificed to idol gods. You don't know where that food comes from before it goes to the grocery store. You don't know the condition of the slaughterhouses. You don't know how they treating the animals. Maybe it'll do you some good sometime to go on their YouTube and take a look at the slaughterhouse where they deal with the sheep. Go look at the slaughterhouse and see how they deal with the animals. Go look at where the precious beef come from. Go and look at how they treating the chickens that you're eating. Go and look. You see? Because the righteous man cares for the Most High's beast. But the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel, according to the words of Solomon. There is a level of cruelty that have to come to wring the chicken's neck until it pop right off. There's a level of cruelty that you have to pull a chicken's feathers out. It's almost like if somebody came along and start pulling the hair in your beard out, one thing at a time. It takes a level of cruelty to put something in a pot of boiling water and it don't even know that it's baking to death. It takes a level of cruelty to be able to go and hit an animal in the head with a sledgehammer, then take and rip him from one end to the other and pull all of his guts out and all of that. It takes a level of cruelty to be able to walk around with the animal's blood stained all over you and you competent. It takes a level of cruelty to be able to do that. It takes a level of cruelty to be able to raise an animal for so long that when that animal look you in your eyes, you know he's thinking something. You know he's feeling something. I'll tell you what he's thinking. He's thinking, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? And he speaks with his eyes because it's penned in the scripture that when Adam and Eve left the garden, the Most High closed the mouth of the animals. So at one point, the mouth of the animals could speak because they were your companions and they were your fellow creatures in this world that the Most High had created. and he looking at you because he can't no longer talk. And we see in the garden that the serpent was more craftier than the rest of them. But the serpent was not the only animal that was talking. The serpent's mouth got closed up with the rest of the animals when they left the garden. But the same way that the serpent tricked Eve, that cow that looked at you with them big eyes could say, why are you doing this to me, man? Why are you trying to eat me, man? I'm your brother. That's what you gotta say, King Rashard. King Rashard, can you give me that? Can you find me that passage where it says that the Most High closed the mouths of the creatures? We know that they could talk because he, for one instance, he opened up the mouth. Let's see. What about Genesis 18? Let's go read it. We got somebody that don't want to get that meat up. They don't want to get that meat up. They our forefathers again. Genesis 18. Okay, let's take a look at it. Maybe you came late. Let's look at it. Genesis 18. Any specific verse? I know one thing. Them Christian brothers, they don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear this. Okay, dealing with Genesis 18. I'll tell you why, man. You see, you get this is listen. You have to understand is that the Most High removed Abraham from a particular place. He told Abraham, "Get thee from thy father's house and from thy kindred unto a land that I will show thee." But when he moved Abraham, it don't mean that Abraham did not have things that was ingrained in him from how he came up. It didn't have things that he had learned from a child that his father had taught him. Now, we just seen those things. We just seen those things, how certain things were permitted because of the particular custom that people had become so attached with. But at the end of the day, it ain't the Most High that was commanding people to kill his creation. They were killing his creation because it was things that their forefathers had done. Okay. I'm going to read it again for you. Jubilees chapter 4, verse 28. I'm going to read it again for you so you can understand what I'm saying. Listen at this. So this same thing, it would be the same way with Abraham. Because the Most High had to purge them from them things. Okay. I want to get that. Jubilees chapter 3, verse 28. Now it says, when meantime Moshe, that faithful and wise steward, perceived that the vice of the sacrifice to idols had been deeply ingrained into the people from their association with the Egyptians, and that root of this evil could not be extracted from them, he allowed them to sacrifice, but permitted it to be done only in the name of yahshuah or yahweh, that by any means he might cut off one half of the deeply ingrained evil, leaving the other half to be corrected by another, and at a future time by him, namely concerning him whom he said himself, a prophet will Yahweh your Elohim raise up unto you, whom you will hear, even as of myself, according to all things that he will say. And whosoever will not hear his prophet, his spirit shall be cut off from his people. So you see, it wasn't something that the Most High did. It was our customs that we had become accustomed to. That it was become a part of our natural everyday life, because that's how our mother and father brought us up. And then when God called us, you see, when we come to the Most High, we don't come to the Most High and instantly be right. I come to the Most High and still smoke 20, 30 years after that. Come to the Most High and still drinking. Come to the Most High and still got the urge to do some other. Come to the Most High and still time to time fornicate. Come to the Most High and still sin, because it's deeply ingrained in us. And the Most High had to purge it out of us little by little. I hope that answers your question. Now, let's go read this. This is Jubilees. Can't believe. Jubilees chapter 3, verse 28. Now maybe you was right, it ain't 328. Jubilees chapter 4, verse 28. No, that ain't it neither. It ain't 328, King. So now that y'all got a fuller comprehension of the doctrine of Yahshua, because as long as we go, his doctrine is dealing with creation. It's always going to keep going. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to show you another one. Show you another one. Show you another one. Show you another one. Then we're going to end the video. And the next video is about to get rough, because we're going to start comparing the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach to the letters of Paul and show you what we're talking about. For all of you Paul lovers, all of you so-called Apostle Paul lovers, all of you so-called Apostle Paul lovers. That's what I'm going to say, so-called Apostle Paul lovers. We're going to parallel the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach with the letters of the false apostles that were never chosen by the Messiah to be witnesses of him. I be wondering, man, dudes ain't got no common sense to think. And declaring themselves teachers and Koheens and bishops and pastors and apostles, and ain't got no common sense whatsoever to think. Let's go do another one. Let's go to 47. Let's see. Verse 6, and again I say unto you, if any desire and seek to possess the body of any creature for food or for pleasure or for profit, they defile themselves thereby. Yeah, and if a man telleth the truth to his neighbor in such wise as to lead. Now, I'm about to read this whole thing, because I'm about to read this whole thing, because when we start talking about the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach, we talking about the laws. Many people talking about, a new commandment he gave us, that we love each other. Because Paul said the love for your neighbor, all the commandments are summed up in these. No, they wasn't, Paul. Wrong again. It's love the Lord thy God, thy heart with all thy soul, all thy might, all thy strength. Love thy creatures the same, and love thy neighbors and the creation as you love yourself. So, but these are the commandments of the Messiah that you never knew nothing about, because they removed the eyewitness account of the 12 apostles and then replaced it with hand-picked apostles that were not chosen. So they could never tell you what the Messiah said. Let's go. And when they were come down from the mount, one of his disciples asked him, Master, if a man keep not all these commandments, shall he enter into life? And he said, the law is good in the letter, without the spirit is dead. But the spirit maketh the letter alive. Take heed that ye obey from the heart and in the spirit of love all the commandments which I have given unto you. It hath been written, thou shalt not kill. But I say unto you, if any hate a desire to slay, any hath a desire to slay, they are guilty of the law. Yeah, if they cause hurt or torture to any innocent creature, they are guilty. But if they kill to put an end to suffering which cannot be healed, they are not guilty if they do so quickly and in love. That's why you see the cowboy shoot his horse. You see, he wasn't guilty of hurting the creature because he was ending his misery from a miserable state. He wouldn't be classified as guilty. It had been said, thou shalt not steal. But I say unto you, if any not content with what you have, desire and seek after that which is another's, or if they withhold that which is just from the worker, they have stolen in their heart already, and their guilt is greater than that of the one who stealeth a loaf in necessity. Come on, man, what just happened? See, Satan's involved now. Dang it. Satan in the picture now. But he getting out. Yep. Okay, so right back. Now, it says, I want you to hear the Messiah's law. Now, it says, again, you have been told, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, if a man or a woman join together in marriage with unhealthy bodies, and they beget an unhealthy offspring, they are guilty, even though they have not taken their neighbor's spouse. And if any have not taken a woman who belonged to another, but desire in their heart, seek after her, they have committed adultery already in their spirit. So I bet you didn't know, one of the laws of Christ is that two unhealthy people didn't have no business getting married, because they would pass character defects on to the next generation of children, and they would be declared guilty. Again, I say unto you, if any desire to seek to possess the body of any creature for food or for pleasure or for profit, they defile themselves. Yeah, if a man telleth the truth to his neighbor in such wise as to lead him into evil, even though it be true in the letter, he is guilty. Don't use truth to deceive people. Walk ye in the spirit, and thus shall ye fulfill the law and be meet for the kingdom. Let the law within your own hearts. Let the law be within your own hearts rather than on tables of memorial, which things nevertheless you ought to do and ought not to leave the other undone. For the law which I have given unto you is holy, just, good, and blessed, and all they that obey and walk therein. He said, you know what? Learn how to live by what you've been reading. Now there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at the gate, full of sores, desiring to be fed the crumbs which fall from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that Lazarus died. Lazarus died and the rich man died. And y'all know what happened. The rich man lifted up his eyes in hell. Lazarus went to the bosom of Abraham. So we see the doctrine of Hamashiach again. Said, if any man desire to have the body of an animal for food or for pleasure or for profit, you defile your own self. We can keep going on and on and on. I keep saying I'm going to read one more. I'm going to read one more then. Let me read one more. I wonder if I ever did 6. Did I ever do? I think I started with 6. Let me read one more. Let me read one more. See if I can read one more for y'all. Okay. Read one more for y'all. $87? All right. This is going to be the last one I read. This is going to be the last one, and the next ones we're going to lay out how Yahshua dealt with false prophets, how he dealt with charlatans, how he dealt with men that he said would come in his name, and they would twist his words, and they would teach things that he didn't teach. We're going to deal with those things. We're going to put those things up against what men have came to understand as the epistles or the letters. We're going to put them up against that, so you'll know how to keep your beloved brother in his proper place. And all you scholars out there, and those that want to defend the letters of Paul, that'll be your opportunity to bring all of your letters and all of your information that you think that you want to use, and then we'll put that side by side, the words of Yahshua HaMashiach and the account of the 12 apostles, and we'll see if they line up. All right. Okay. We're going to 87. Then the same day at the evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Yahshua and stood in the midst of them, saying, Peace be unto you. But they were affrighted and supposed that he had a spirit. They seen the spirit. And he said unto them, Behold, it is I myself, like as ye have seen me aforetime. A spirit can indeed appear in flesh and bones, as ye see me have. Behold, my hands and my feet, handle and see. And when he had so said, he showed them his hands and his heart. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. For Thomas, called Didymus, one of the disciples, said unto him, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and the thrust my hand into his heart, I will not believe. Then said to Thomas, behold my hands, my heart, my feet. Reach hither thy hands, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered unto him and said, my Lord, my God. And Yahshua said unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen, and have yet believed. Then said Yahshua unto them, peace be unto you, as Abba Amana had sent me, even so I send you. And when he had said this, he breathed on them, and they said unto them, receive ye the Holy Ghost, preach the gospel, and announce ye unto all nations the resurrection of the Son of Man. Teach the holy law of love which I have delivered unto you. And whosoever forsake their sins, they are remitted unto them. And whosoever continue in their sins, they are retained unto them. Baptize them who believe and repent. Bless and anoint them, and offer ye the pure oblation of the fruits of the earth, which I have appointed unto you for a memorial. Lo, I have given my body and my blood to be offered for the redemption of the world from sin, against love, and from the bloody sacrifices and the feasts of the past. And ye shall offer the bread of life and the wine of salvation for pure oblation with incense. For it is written of me, and ye shall eat and drink thereof for a memorial, that I have delivered all who believe in me from the ancient bondage of your ancestors. For they, making a god of their belly, sacrificed unto their God the innocent creatures of the earth, in place of the carnal nature within themselves, and eating of their flesh and drinking of their blood to their own destruction, corrupted their bodies and shortened their days, even as the Gentiles who knew not the truth, or who knowing it have changed it into a lie. As I send you, so send ye others also to do these things in my name. And he laid his hands upon them, and in like manner as apostles also he ordained prophets and evangelists and pastors and holy priesthood. And after he laid his hands upon those whom they chose for deacons, for each of the fourfold 12. And these are for the rule and guidance of the congregation universal, that all may be perfected in their places in unity of the body of Hamashiach. So he's telling you what his doctrine was: to deliver us from the sins of our ancestors and the putting away of the bloody sacrifices and the eating of the flesh and the drinking of the blood. That means that when we're going to obey the Messiah, he said these grains and this corn and these grapes shall be eaten for the remission of sin. Not no bloody animal. If you're still eating dead things, you're a scavenger. You're a goddamned vampire. A cannibal that eating his own brother and his own sister. Because you created out of the same substance, out of the same flesh and blood that the animal is. That's the doctrine of Yahshua HaMashiach. That's the doctrine. That's the reason that he came, to do away and to put away the bloody sacrifices. Anybody in church want to tell you, let's go downstairs and bless this food? You can't pray. You're praying to a false God. You're sure not praying to the one that came to abolish the eating of flesh and drinking of blood while you put a pig feet or a neck bone on somebody's plate. You're sure not serving the Most High. The camp brothers at your feast, you ain't serving the Most High neither. When you get together for the brew out and got the barbecue grills smoking and all that, and the lamb and the chicken and the wings and all of that. And see, we don't know what the doctrine of Christ is. All praises to the Most High Heavenly Father and His glorious Son.